Now, we are very honored here to have our guest speaker, Mr. Ihusan, to enlighten us about this topic more. So let me just invite our guest speaker, Mr. Ihusan, to say a few words about the topic, the art of failing forward. Mr. Ihusan.
Great. Thank you, everyone. It's always an honor to meet great people who are out there in the world doing great things. And I'm always a fan of Miss Shahina. And I'm more delighted to see Miss Neela here. Both of us studied together in 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. We had a great time back there. So good to see you guys. I'll try to highlight what I think about failing forward. Okay, I'll share these slides with you guys here in a minute. Let me know. I think the host has to enable sharing the slides. Okay, great. Got it. Okay, we good?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great. So first of all, before I even get into it, I really want to ask you one question. How many of you have had the experience of failure? How many of you have failed at something in life? That, I guess everyone. Okay, next question is, how do you cope with failing an exam? I don't know, maybe most of us here might not have ever failed an exam, but how do you cope, or how do you suggest we cope with failing an exam? Does anyone have a thought about it? How do you cope with it? Let's say you went to sit an exam, which was very important, you failed it. What do you do? Is there a coping mechanism?
We'll just have that pain of failing, because we would really, I remember there was one time I did performance management exam in my ACCA studies for 3 times. So the pass mark was 50 marks, and I was just working to get that 50 marks. And the first time I failed with 49 marks. The second time I failed with 48 marks. So it was like a painful thing. But then I realized that later, that after failing the second time, I realized, okay, there is a mistake that I was doing there, because I was targeting just to pass with 50 marks, and I was like failing with 1 mark. So it was painful, but it was
so your way of coping was, did you try to get that extra mark and go at it second time, third time? Yeah. Okay. Yes. So some of us, as research suggests, some of us, what we do is we cheat on the second time around. That's how we decide to cope. Others, we find someone who has done worse than us. We say, you know what? He failed worse than me. I got 39, that guy got 35. So I'm happy, right? Others, we run from difficulty. We don't attempt. Unlike Shahina, we say, oh, screw that, I'm done with it. So I'm no longer going to try it. The art of failing forward starts very early, I would say. My childhood, I was in 5th grade, and this was the time when we were being elected to be prefects in the school. So that's like a big thing for anyone who aspires to be a leader at school level. Being a prefect is one of the key things that you would want to do. So I was shortlisted to be a prefect in 5th grade. And the night before we were supposed to get our prefectship, we were coming out from the mosque after the last prayer of the evening. And there we saw a mango tree right outside the mosque next to the imam's house. And one of my friends threw a stone at the tree, and there fell a lot of mangoes. So guess what? I also started picking some of those mangoes. And while I was picking these mangoes, behind me, there was the imam, and he held my head. He was like, hey, are you stealing mangoes from my tree? And I was like, yes and no, because I didn't throw the stone, but I'm picking it up for sure. So the Imam, well, obviously my friends ran away, and Imam was holding me still. The next morning, I show up to school, and they started calling in for the guys who got prefect's badge, and they didn't call my name. So I was very sad. I was this fifth grader, I cried. I went and asked the teacher, "Hey, teacher, I was supposed to be on the list. What happened?" And then teacher said, "You need to go and see the supervisor." So I went to the supervisor, and the supervisor said, "Well, look, this incident happened last night, and the school got a report, so you're not going to become a prefect this year." And that almost killed me inside, because this was something I looked up to the entire time I was in like second, third, fourth grade. First grade, anyway, you don't understand anything, I guess. So this was me back in school, many years back. So I failed to get my first leadership position in my whole life that I aspired to get. Now I had a choice there at that young. I had a choice. I had a choice of trying again or just giving up. So my instinct was, you know what? I'm going to try much harder than the rest of everyone who became prefects. And I'm going to try and be the school captain in 2 years, while the others already are in senior positions by the end of this year. So that's the instinct where you have to decide whether you want to fail and move backwards, or you want to fail leaning forward. And my instinct is, when you fail towards what you want to achieve and then keep going after it, then you become that school captain after 2 years. The guy that you see on the right, rocking my father's shades at that time, which was much bigger than my face. It's all about how you set your mind at that point of time when you experience that failure. Now, you all agree that you have had experiences of failure in your life. Failure is an opportunity, but a lot of us don't see that opportunity in failure. So the art of failing forward begins with you identifying, acknowledging that there is something out there that you can achieve. There is something bigger than what you just lost. There is something that makes you try again. There is something that is more rewarding. And then you stop hiding mistakes and concealing your weaknesses and start going after it. And lo and behold, you're almost there. You will have several opportunities to fail in your life. Okay, I mean, some of you might already have had many failures in your life, some that you are very proud of, some that you're not proud of, that you will not even discuss to anyone. But my suggestion is, when the risks are low, fail more. Because the moment you start failing more, you start acknowledging that there are many ways of doing this, but these ways didn't work. And then you start learning lessons from those failures. And when you start noticing that each failure becomes a learning experience and each failure drives you forward, that's where you start moving forward with the mindset of failing forward. When the stakes are low, when you're young, when you're just starting your career, when you're at positions which really can afford to take one more mistake, is where you want to fail more and more and learn more. Where I'm currently, I'm managing at the moment as CEO of 4 different companies. I'm running 3 different companies as their managing directors. And I have sat in the board of the Maldives Monetary Authority. But 20 years ago, if I thought I would be doing all these things, man, I would never have thought about it. But did I just become that? No. I mean, Neela knows we failed miserably in many things at school. There are times that I was ashamed, because even Neela was this beautiful young lady there, so we would want to impress all of them, and you don't want to fail while your classmates are there, but you do. And then the urge to gain that what you are craving for keeps you driving forward, and that urge should be alive, and that urge should make you fail and continuously fail while the stakes are low. I have dealt with military operations where we were dealing with people's lives in early times of my career. I spent 4.5 years in the U.S. military and about 6 months with the U.S. Marine Corps. During the time, we did such high-risk operations where failure was not an option, because the moment you fail, it costs lives of people. So you will have opportunities in your life where the stakes are not so high. So don't be afraid to push in and gain a little bit of that strength to drive forward and take the leap. You might fail. You will fail at times. I didn't reach here without failing, for sure. You will not reach at your end point without failing, but you sure are going to reach if you continue to embrace that failure. You will learn several ways of things that doesn't work. You will be an expert of tactics that doesn't work. So you know that you're seeking for the things that work. So when you experience failure, you have a skill set of identifying things and people before they fail. You can advise them, you can guide them, you can be there for them. And that's how failures, experiences helps you to guide yourself and others. Failures calls for quitting. That's the human instinct. The moment you fail, you have an instinct to quit. But if you want to drive in forward, if you want to fail forward, you need to know that your day is coming. So if you lean forward as you fail, if you keep pushing, you're going to achieve that. Keep that in mind and embrace it. Don't blame others. It's again, a lot of times we Maldivians have a tendency to do it. We blame everything on someone else. But your failure is your responsibility. Embrace it. It's not a problem. You tried. Guess what? Others did not. You tried and you failed. Others did not. So stay on that. Don't blame others. Take responsibility. My last point to you is you fail and re-aim. Okay. Don't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. So you need to understand when you fail, what happened. It's supposed to be back in 2006. All right. This was the guy on the right, is the commander of United States Corps of Cadets at that point of time. So I said at that day, when initially I wanted to become like this guy, I failed my first physical fitness test. And that day, I was like, man, I really wanted to be the commander of the place, but I was running 2 miles in 18 minutes, and the fastest guy ran in 9.5 minutes. So I had to run twice faster to be physically that fit to become these guys. So it was something that I couldn't foresee. I worked hard. I got out to PT. I worked extra hours. I ran in the morning, evenings. I sometimes ran in the afternoons. While these guys were out on winter break, I used to practice running. Brought my run time down to 10.5 minutes for a 2-miler. And guess what? 4 years later, I became the first brigade commander of the United States Corps of Cadets. And in 218 years of their history, still the only foreigner to have been awarded this position. So if I decided the day I failed the first time in the U.S. Military Academy, and I said, oh man, I'm just going to be an average Maldivian and just, move through these 4 years, get my degree out and go back to my country and serve and not aim for anything higher, I would never have been able to achieve it. And then 1 year later, you are that one guy from the Republic of Maldives standing right next to the President of the United States of America. So failure takes you places. Failure gets you to places. And failure, when embraced, when done right, when failing forward works, you get to places where you want to be. And I think the whole concept of art of failing is not quitting and going forward with it, and trying and trying and trying again and finding new ways of doing things. Questions?
So while we wait for the audience, Ihusan, I would just like to ask you, you have given a really good speech about what you have learned in terms of failing and then how you have overcome it. So in terms of personal life, or in terms of helping the society, what do you see as a society that we are failing, that we can learn from, that we can improve ourselves?
I think, excuse my French, but I call something which is called give a shit factor. Your ability to care, your ability to give a shit, it really means something. So first of all, when things go wrong in society, when societies fail, when things in society fail, you need to be a person who acknowledges that failure in society and decide to do something about it. A lot of us are great judges. Is there you're failing, the society is failing, you don't perform, this guy is not performing, but what the hell have you done about it? So I think your appreciation of understanding and your ability to judge situations where things and people fail, you also have to have the courage to lean forward and take some steps to be part of the solution to help the failing society.
Yes, and you have greatly explained what as a society we can do. I think that's what Ms. Shahina really does, and then inspires us to do also. I would like to ask Ms. Shahina if she has any question or she could add more to it.
Thank you, Ihusan. I first have a question for Ihusan. I was thinking, like, let's say you are the average Maldivian who had that 18 minutes of running when the like US people can run for 9.5 minutes. I'm sure, like, as you are striving, like as you are pushing yourself, even running in the afternoons, there'll be a lot of self-doubt. Like, can I do this? Whether I would be able to achieve that. I think that's something I am going through at this moment, because I was like the ordinary girl. We are from the same island then, and like we get these labels, like you are just the ordinary girl from Addo city. What can you do? What can you be? Like these kind of critics comes at us, and then like we have to deal with it every day, but still we have a bigger mission. Like I have a bigger vision. So I'm pushing myself, but there are at times that I get this self-doubt. Okay, is this worth doing? Why should I do it? Like sometimes I know I have the vision. I know why I have the vision as well. But sometimes this critics and negativity tries to like eat me up as well. So how did you like cope with it during those 4 years?
I'll tell you a quick end story here, just a quick one. Just like Ms. Shahina said, when I went to West Point, the United States Military Academy, the odds were entirely against me. I was a Muslim. I was a minority race among 4,500 American soldiers who had no clue where the Republic of Maldives was. So you can imagine when you try to make a case. First of all, my English was never understood by any of us. The other guys, they spoke an English that the US English, when spoken in the military speed, it's just gibberish. You have no clue what they are talking about. It was an advantage for me because in training, when they yell at me, I didn't know what they were saying. So it didn't really affect me that much. So that was an advantage. But all the odds are against you. I failed at running the first time. I realized I was a left-handed shooter after 3 days of trying to shoot. And then one person identified that you are left eye dominant, so that's why you aren't shooting anything. So then I had to switch after 3 days of lying on the ground in heat in a hot summer in Georgia, trying to shoot. Every episode of this makes me feel like I'm an idiot. It makes me think that I'm far from it. But what I do is, number one thing, I take pride in representing the country. So when I was there, I knew I was the only one from a 400,000 strong population. And I had to do something to prove to the rest of the people who will come after me for years and years that one Maldivian came here and he didn't fail, or he didn't accept failure. That's the first thing. I had a higher purpose. I created a higher purpose. The second thing is your connection to when we are Muslims, your connection to Allah, I would say. There are times where there is nothing else but God. I spent 15 days in the jungle with nothing around, just animals and you. Your whole task was to survive for 15 days. There were times where I was the man, just take me home. I want to eat my mom's food. I want to be there. I want to see my family, and those are the times where you get tired, you're just exhausted, and you have nothing else but the one, your creator. So I think part of being strong people who can embrace failure is having that, some place, someone to fall back to. And for me, when I was alone, especially in the military, it was Allah. The other thing is, you have to have clearly defined and clearly envisioned goals for yourself. One thing I had was graduation. I was going to go out of that door 4 years later. Doesn't matter. Whether they kick me out of the door, or I run, or I jump, or they take me on a stretcher, I was going to stay there for 4 years. That was my number one goal. Number two, I had drawn a picture of me in a Maldivian military army uniform as an officer. So whenever I fail, whenever I feel like things are just against me, things are not just working out, I'm going to give up, I have a look at them. And then it gives you that inner strength to drive forward. And then the last thing is, I had people who look up to me. I had pictures of my parents. I had pictures of my siblings. I had that one friend who was always motivating me, but he never did anything with his life. But still, he was out there. Yes, Ihusan, you can do it. Yes. So these guys kept me going. So I would say find those fallbacks where you're human. Okay, you're human. You're gonna get tired. You're gonna get fed up. You're gonna get not motivated at all, and then you will be sometimes recalculating why you have made this stupid decision to go out of Maldives and spend your whole time at West Point, New York, and don't understand what these people are trying to do, right? So those are the times where you fall back a little bit and see your goals, refresh, go at it again. You fail, come back, do it again, but do it differently. Improvise, do it differently, and expect better results. And know that one day you need to be there, and that should drive you. I'm telling you, one thing I can guarantee you is failure. I guarantee you failure. But if you keep at it, the success is there. And time again, I have seen this happen. I was in this boxing class. I was 166 centimeters tall. The shortest guy next to me was 178 centimeters tall. So when I was boxing like this. So imagine the odds. I was just there for 2 minutes, just getting beat up by these tall Americans. And my only focus was just survive for two minutes. And my final bout, after 40 lessons of fighting, final day, I broke my finger and failed the whole session, whole class. I couldn't go for the last 2 minutes because my thumb broke. I gave up my entire summer leave. I went back into fighting. 38th lesson, 2 lessons from final, I broke the same finger. And I said, guess what? I'm not going to go for winter break either. I took the next session. On the 3rd session, I broke my finger again, and I didn't tell anyone about it. And the next 37 sessions, I fought with a broken finger. Because the goal to pass the damn class and move on was so strong, and the urge was there, so you had to try. Every one of you might not have the same experiences that I did, but I'm exactly sure that every one of you is going to have the same taste of failure that I had. And you could use the same exact tools, the same exact drawbacks that I have used to come back strong. Okay. My last thing I would want to share with you. US Marine Corps, there was a 5-kilometer run. The Maldives military said your qualification was 29 minutes, right? 5 kilometers in 29 minutes. So I went out there, I trained, I ran 5 kilometers in 27 minutes. I was so proud of myself, right? So I go to the United States. We have this run, and there were 23 girls and 170 guys. we started running this 5 kilometers, right? I was running as fast as I could. I was so proud of myself. I turned around and I see these two girls coming back and trying to get me. They have already finished the run. And imagine when two girls are coming and saying, Ali, you can do it, keep pushing. I was like, man, these guys told 29 and I'm already running at 26. But these girls finished 21 minutes and they were coming to get me. Some of them had breakfast, they shaved, they took their time, they were enjoying when I finished. So the entire 6 months, I had to put extra hours to pass that damn test. And I cut down to 21 minutes and 30 seconds. And my final run, I said to myself, I was not going to come after these girls. Imagine the next time at the end of the line, I saw these two girls again trying to come back and receive me, right? They ran much faster. So sometimes you try harder, but you still not get there, but you are almost there. And that almost should keep you driving. You will not always get it full, but the amount that you progress should keep you motivated to go forward and to keep pushing and pushing until you reach there. So Shahina, keep pushing.
Yes, thank you. Like a very impressive speech and something that reminded from Ali's final word. What it reminded me was there is a saying by Brian Tracy. He says that difference between winning a race and losing a race is just the size of a like a nose, the nose of a horse. So as you finish the line, with 1 millimeter or so, you might be losing. So that is like winning, that one you just described. But I'm sure that we all got impressed and also we got motivated to reevaluate our vision, our purpose, and why we are doing what we are doing. In the class also, some of the students, they complain, okay, we are getting too much homework, we are getting too much tutorial, but I'm sure this is the great lesson for all of you. If you want something out of your life, you have to go that extra mile. So thank you very much, Ali, for taking that time from your extremely busy schedule, managing 3 organizations and also a family. I know how busy you can be, but being here with us and adding value to our community, this is we are very grateful. This is the kind of contribution we all need from the people, and we are all striving to do as well. All of these students, they are trying to add value to the community. We don't say that, okay, what can we do for the country, but rather we are trying to ask ourselves what is the community needing, and we are ready, and that's what we are doing. So thank you very much. I'd like to ask Isam to share the certificate. Ali.
Thank you so much, guys. It's always an honor to meet a crowd of young, energetic, and motivating people. It keeps me going. And I keep losing my hair doing these things, but man, it keeps me going. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Neela, always an honor. Pleasure seeing you again. And same as well, Shahina, and all the great men and women out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night. Thank you. Bye.